do really apologize for doing that. My signals for us, it's not really convenient time.
Well, at first it was.
Okay, all right, well,
We emailed back and forth.
the wrong time stuck, I'm sorry, I really apologize. I hope I didn't push it off.
Not too bad. I guess we'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and just kind of introduce everybody a little bit. And part of our zoning board of appeals.
Okay, this is ZBA here.
Yep. Jeremy,
Steve.
Ralph, Tom, and then we have some of our council board members. We have Chris, treasurer, Debbie, clerk, Morgan's coming in, he's supervisor.
How you doing?
Lonnie is the trustee, and Ralph is also a trustee.
All right.
And then
Tina knows everything.
Tina, everything. And, oh, I have another thing, member back there.
Oh,
You want to see?
all right.
And we're kind of the planning skin. I'm Jim Squares.
Yep.
And
Kim Corey.
Ken, he's new. And Carl and Lonnie. So we'll kind of bring us up to date on you and your business a little bit.
All right, sure. Well, I have been doing this for a while, and since two things that have really changed my career as a planner is that in 2000 I became self-employed by choice, and I think in fact, I just met with an engineering firm today because I'm working for a GIS technician. Although I'm self-employed, I utilize the services of other professionals to provide support like landscape architecture, GIS, secretarial, and I have a couple of planners too that I can call on from time to time as needed if that need arises. So I think that the two things that have really changed my career since 2000 when I became self-employed, when you become self-employed, you kind of jump with both feet. You learn that you have to be responsive and responsible and deliver good services and be very knowledgeable. So I think that really forced me to become a better planner. And then about, I guess, 2005 or something, the other thing that I think really helped me a lot is that sort of by accident or just as a temporary measure, I became a zoning administrator as well as a planner for Fruitwood Township of Muskegon County. And that was a real eye-opener once I began to, because I always kind of had this feeling like these attorneys and planners that write zoning ordinances and things, they never see the other side of it. And I could tell when I was, all those years I was a consultant, I could see the look in the zoning administrator's eyes when we're proposing these new, updated zoning ordinances and things. They always have this quizzical look in their eye. And I think a lot of times the professionals that didn't understand where the rubber meets the road were creating things that were difficult to interpret or difficult to administer. And so putting those shoes on and learning how zoning ordinances really get implemented at the local level was really helpful. And that didn't last very long, but as a temporary zoning administrator, but then another township approached me a few years ago and said, we'd like to have you be zoning administrator and planner and everything else. So I actually have office hours now at that township, and that's working very well. So I've worked very hard to develop a good reputation, be ethical, and provide good services. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, zoning, planning, zoning administration, development authorities, recreation plan, other dysfunctional downtown type plans, or economic development strategies, all that. So pretty well rounded. I've had, as a consultant, I've worked for developers, see that side of it. I work for corporations, I work for both Amway and Meyer on different types of projects, so I just have had a pretty well-rounded experience, experiences as a plumber. Enjoy it.
We'll just open it up to anybody with questions.
I'll start. When you do, we're working on our master plan right now, and that is one of the main reasons that we need some help. You do that on a project basis, or do you do it on a hourly basis? How do you normally work as far as how you're billing for what we need done?
Primarily, I work on the retainer. That seems to have worked well for everyone that I've worked for. And the retainer arrangement that I use is kind of interesting, and that it's, and it may not be something that you're interested in doing, but typically what I've done is just set a monthly fee and provide any sort of, services as needed based on just that fee. So, the communities that I've worked for in that, with that understanding, I've told them, give me as much work as you can, because you're not paying me any more or less, regardless, you're not paying me any more, but I'm doing more work. So, that sort of takes the highs and lows out of it, because you may have a lot of things to do for 6 months and then not much to do for 6 months. So the retainer arrangement seems to work pretty well on both sides, and I make sure that it's reasonable. It's sort of mutually agreed on. Other than that, I've also worked, quite a bit as just a fee structure. Just 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is to do this project. And that's only sometimes with expenses and sometimes without. All those things are considerations. How many meetings usually is it? Can make a big difference in the cost, on both sides. Cost to deliver services, the more meetings you go to them. And I've also worked hourly with private clients and developers and things. I've done hourly. Most municipalities I don't, because my hourly rate, quite honestly, at this point in my career, my hourly rate is too high. If I was to work hourly, I think I would charge about $125 an hour. And so when you're doing a master plan or a recreation, that just doesn't, it just is just, too, the cost is too great, it's just not good. So really, because I'm self-employed, my philosophy on fees has been whatever is mutually agreed on. It's fine with me. If you come up with a different kind of arrangement, that's okay too. I'll work with you on whatever you think is reasonable. Okay.
Anything else?
Have you worked with anybody locally around the area here?
Newaygo County, I've worked for Everett Township and Wilcox Townships. I think maybe years ago I worked for White Cloud, and probably isn't anybody there that remembers me. And I think I did a little bit of work for the city of Newaygo 2 years ago.
Just 2 years ago?
Oh, for several years ago. Yeah, so, I think in Newaygo County that might be it, but, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look and see.
So you have a good relationship then with
Yeah.
those past areas?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, in every case, I think. Yeah. And the project is, I worked myself out of a job, which is really always my goal. If it's in the kind of situation it was with them, it was do the plan, do the ordinance, do the development regulations, do all of it, pretty much like a package of things. that took 2 or 3 years. And so I knew I was working myself out of a job. So when those projects were completed, it was done.
How long were you with Newaygo?
The city,
Yeah.
a few months. That, that was only to assist them with their downtown development authority.
Okay.
And,
How did all that go? Did it all go well?
that didn't go well. And I don't want to get it, it was only, it had to do with the finances and their attorney. And kind of a disagreement as to what was the right thing to do and not, and, so I didn't want to be involved.
Well? Quiet. Oh, yeah, Chris.
If we make changes to our ordinance or working on the master plan, does your office do all the document prep?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then we would get a copy of that in like a digital format, so
Yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah. I mean, with email, I mean, you don't really even need to provide a disk copy anymore, it's all, yeah. In the preparation of the document, it can be a single file. For a master plan, it's usually a single file, but you have a number of illustrations in there that, that's one of the things, that's one of the key things, in fact, in master planning. In fact, the engineer that I met with today, I said, I've always sort of prided myself, and I believe I'm the first planner that I know of in Michigan to do a community master plan entirely using GIS technology for everything. Soils, roads, utilities, land use, everything digitized into an electronic format and all associated together in a geographic information system.
okay.
And I asked these guys, I said, what year do you think that was? And they didn't really have an idea, and I said 1987, they couldn't believe it. But I've always been a firm believer in using that technology. It's fabulous technology for planning. I think it's revolutionized the field of planning. And so that's an important element of the plan, is having the right technology to be able to do adequate analysis.
And this would be in a format where if we had to make changes in the future, we could make them easily, we don't have to retype,
Well,
rework things.
that's what I was meeting with these guys for, is because I would like to have another GIS technician. I've been using a guy that just is kind of, pretty part-time, and he doesn't really have the newest equipment, and he isn't kind of tied in, with the updated techniques, I guess, that I would like to have. And so, that's an important element in the planning process. I believe that each municipality ought to have access to their own GIS system so that they can have at least input into the management of it. Management of the system is really important, because you make a zoning change, you want to be able to get a new zoning map created, or if you want a new parcel layer every year. There's just certain things that are good to, good things for a municipality to be able to manage. I don't know how that's done here. I provided those services in Everett and Wilcox Townships. I had my GIS people build that system. And so that if the municipalities wanted to carry that forward, then they would contract with the GIS people to do that. But a lot of counties now are doing that work. And in fact, we did do that through the county, and we provided them all the layers, but then the GIS guy left, and they, it was kind of not very well administered or coordinated at that time. That was, several years ago, but I don't know how that works today, but that's really important. But those files then are fairly large and requires, and has a degree of sophistication to them in terms of input, output, management. So in the plan document, all we would do is we would take a snapshot of whatever we're trying to portray as an illustration and tie it into the text and say, okay, figure A is the land use map of the township, so it would show the current land use at the time of that analysis. And that would just be a snapshot, but behind all that, in the real system, there's this, you can manipulate that. You can say how many acres are there in commercial, it's just almost unlimited how much information you can extract from the GIS system. So when you're done, you might have 15 or 20 of those illustrations supporting the text of the plan, depending on what's relevant for that community. So the document then, in its electronic format, gets pretty large, because take a snapshot of that GIS illustration and insert it in the plan, and it becomes figure X. And then there's tables and charts and other things that go into the plan too. So the plan document gets to be pretty large when you have all those PDF files or whatever in it. But that's typically what we do. We just, we create that final product, and I have my own, secretarial staff that formats it to make sure it's all correct and everything that's on the page, and the page number and the table of contents is right and all that sort of thing. Long answer.
That's all right. Very informative, thank you.